Hello and welcome to Sound Bath Sundays. Bienvenidos todos. Thank you for choosing to invest your most precious commodity, your time, in participating here today, whether you are here live or watching the replay. In today's episode, we will explore the energy of joy and how this energy can help us change our state, our vibrational or vibratory state, right? But what is a state? Most of us know what vibration is, right? Frequency vibration. But what is actually a state? Very interestingly, in the dictionary, a state as noun is defined as the particular condition that someone or something is in at a specific time. The particular condition that someone or something is in at a particular or specific time. However, as a verb, it is to express something definitely or clearly in speech or writing. And I have modified it a little bit. And for me, it's to express something definitely or clearly, energetically. Because we all have an energetic imprint, energy levels. Our bodies don't end right here where your skin ends. Your body ends a lot wider away. You have an energetic imprint and levels of energies that you're putting out, depending on your state. Now, how does this all apply to you? Have you ever been referred to as being in a state? And can you feel that heaviness attached to these words? Or have you ever experienced being in such a state involuntarily? Well, today we're going to talk about how and why this happens and how you can be at cause instead of at effect, and how you can actually change what happens in your reality. But first, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Hannah Martinez, and I'm a deliverer of Bliss on Demand. I'm also the creator of Vocal Tapestry, sacred frequencies, meditation, and powerful transformational tools to create the life you choose. Once again, thank you for being here. Now, let's get started. Now, we are made mostly of space and water and light. We are also self-sufficient in that we produce enough energy, our bodies automatically, right, without us having to do anything, produce enough energy to keep us alive, to keep our bodies' functions happening. And we emanate electrical and magnetical frequencies. And magnetical, I'm a queen of making up words. Electrical and magnetic frequencies to basically keep us whole, to keep us contained, right? Because all that space and all these tiny little particles need to be held together somehow. So basically, we produce this energy that becomes the glue that keeps us, makes us whole. And it is because of these energies that we actually are human antennas. And what do I mean by that? Well, to illustrate this, have you ever walked into a room and you're having a perfectly fantastic day? And you're perfectly happy, you're full of energy, and you're vibrant, and you all of a sudden walk into a room and you don't know what hit you. All of a sudden, like a ton of bricks, something happens that immediately changes your state. And all of a sudden, you're either angry, frustrated, or perhaps in a panic. Something happens that bumps you off of your perfectly joyful and cheerful state into an undesired state, not of your choosing? Well, let me tell you what. Something like this can, oh my God, my morning frogs. Something like this can really put a damper on your day. And when it gets out of control, for example, when you're in a job that you're not particularly thrilled to be in, or you're somehow on your everyday life surrounded by people whose energy are not, let's call them, ideal, it can really start to color your entire life. Where instead of waking up eager to face the day and have an amazing experience or adventure, you are dreading the moment you have to wake up and get yourself out of bed to go do the things you must do. Right? It's not about being in joy, doing the things you love. It's about doing things out of obligation. Well, if you're still here listening, it most likely means that either you or someone near and dear to you is what we can call a highly sensitive person or an empath. And an empath is someone who takes on other people's energies. Now, at some level, we are all like this, right? We all take that in. We all have walked into a room and all of a sudden we're happy and all of a sudden we're mad and we don't know why, and it's kind of out of our control. Well, some of us have difficulty sustaining the beat of our own drum, meaning we get thrown off our path because of these energies coming at us and not knowing how to handle them, and worse, believing that these energies and these states belong to us. Well, I'm here to give you some really good news. I'm going to give you some techniques that you can apply today that can determine whether this state is actually yours or you're picking it up from somebody else as the beautiful antenna, receiving antenna that you are. How to change that, how to protect yourself, and how to, like the men in the forest that tap into the maple trees to get the sweet elixir that is the maple syrup. I'm going to teach you how to tap into the ether, much in the very same way, and allow that juicy sweetness, nectar of joy to start permeating your inner state, so that in turn you can express it outwardly and start getting the reflection of who you are being, so that you can be at cause in every moment and start choosing joy. And in no way am I pretending to cover the sun with my thumb and or have it be a very looking at life through pink colored glasses, which I tend to do. I choose to do that. However, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be faced with challenges in your life, with sometimes what we call horrible situations, and surrounded by people that perhaps are not the ideal match for us, and that we still have to deal with them. But how do we do this in a more proactive way? How do we do it in a way that we're not going to get bumped off our horse, and we're not going to be like the sail flapping in the wind, where other people's moods, other people's needs, other people's choices are going to affect that rudder and have you flapping in the wind? Does that sound like a plan? So I hope you're still with me. Now, when we're flapping in the wind like this and taking on other people's energies and believing that these energies are ours and being completely out of control can really wreak havoc in our life. So how do we actually change this? How do we protect ourselves without becoming insensitive to others? Because that's another issue, right? You don't want to shield yourself in a way that you're going to be insensitive or that you're not able to connect to others. The thing is, I'm going to give you tools today that are going to not only help protect you, but to keep you open and vulnerable. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, right? But the more open you become, the more vulnerable you become, and the more you can create deep and intimate connections with the people around you, and even create changes so powerful that you might realize that you can find beautiful energy in these people that are surrounding you that maybe you didn't notice. Or maybe you can help them change their state in such a way that you become a joy spreader, where you are going to become that beacon of light that people are going to flock to because you are bringing this amazing energy. And who doesn't want to be around some cheerful person, right? A funny person, somebody that just emanates peace. Because we're all looking for some sort of that calmness, right, in our life. So we can maybe just for a second take a breather and be able to think clearly and perhaps make different choices for our lives that will create a change, a transformational, a deep, transforming change in our lives. So let's get on to it. The tools I'm going to teach you today are 3. They are, who does this belong to? The bubble of protection, and tapping into the energy of joy. Now, the first tool I learned from when I was getting certified as an Access Consciousness facilitator, or BARS facilitator. And this was one of the very first tools that I learned, and it completely changed my life. So I am excited to be able to share it with you. And it is all about being in the question instead of having the perfect answer. Now, do you remember in school or at some point where you were rewarded for having the perfect answer? And were you ever chastised for asking too many questions? I know I was. I would always be continually asking questions and questions and stumping the teachers at times and telling them, please just be quiet. Stop with the questions. Well, it turns out that asking questions is actually a superpower. Because when you ask questions, you allow the universe to give you the answer. So instead of you giving the answer and coming to what's called a conclusion or a finite resolution that has no other exit but that conclusion that which you arrived to. My grammar today is spectacular. So when you have a conclusion, you give an answer and you decide that something is so, you are literally closing the doors on possibilities, because your point of view or the way you look at life is based on your beliefs and your thoughts and the way you look at life from your own very personal and unique point of view. But it just so happens that we are surrounded by millions of people, and they each have their own personal, individual, and unique point of view as well. And it could very well be diametrically opposed to yours and start creating conflict. But here's the thing. When you open yourself to infinite possibilities and you do not attach yourself to any particular outcome about anything, or you do not come to a certain conclusion, and you're open to see a different point of view that maybe you had not considered in the past, things begin to change. Now, how is that? Well, if you start thinking of beliefs, how many beliefs do you have that are not actually yours? Think about it. What do you believe in? Do you believe that men are more powerful than women? Do you believe that women should stay at the home? Do you believe that women should work as hard as men? Do you believe that women should wear skirts? Do you believe that women should wear pants? Do you believe that women should be free to wear whatever the heck they want? What do you believe? Think of a belief and ask yourself if that belief is yours. Now, I illustrate this example in a very practical way. If you are in the Western world, you probably are used to using silverware, not chopsticks, right? So somebody somewhere, a Medici apparently, came up with the idea of forks because in the antiquity, in the Middle Ages, they used to use knives and kids would get their mouths cut all the time. So that's when forks started getting developed and the idea of silverware came along. Then spoons, I gather. Then somebody decided that the best way to eat, or to formally eat, or the best way to show that you're educated and refined would be to place the fork on the left, the knife on the right, and the spoons in different places. It could be the right or the top, depending on the style of place setting that you choose. But let me ask you, did you choose that place setting? Did you choose to believe that the mark of refinement for a person is how they use their silverware? For example, I know perfectly well that the larger fork is for the steak, for the main entree, and the smaller fork is for the appetizer, the salad, whatever gets served first. My hands are not that big, and I love the way the smaller fork fits in my hand. So I would be thrilled eating my entire meal with a small fork. But what happens when I go to a restaurant with other people? Well, in the past, I used to switch forks around. And these days, if I actually feel like eating with a smaller fork, I will either just ask for one or just simply pick my salad fork up and keep eating with the same fork and not worry about what other people think of me. But it took an awareness and it took a conscious choice to start doing things the way that work for me, as long as I'm not hurting anybody else. So, using a salad fork for my steak doesn't pretty much affect anybody except people's judgments of me, which is their problem, right? So if we start looking at every single belief that we have, you might be surprised to find out how many of those beliefs are not even yours. It's unbelievable. When I went through that, it was just like, psh, psh, psh. It's like blowing my mind. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't actually believe this. I even agree with this. I would say sayings that I grew up with that are said I'm from Mexico, and these sayings get said through generations. And I would say stuff like killing two birds with one stone. It was only till very recently that I realized what I was actually saying. I don't want to kill any birds. And here I was putting these powerful words out, and I'm killing birds with my words. And if you don't believe me, start using your words. Haven't you said something to someone without thinking? And when you're angry, when you're upset, when you're in a state, and all of a sudden those words come out and you're like trying to get them back in your mouth, and you just can't because they're already out there. And no matter how many sorries you say, you've already made the dent. You've already created that situation or caused that hurt with something as apparently simple as words. So when I realized what I was saying with that saying, I'm like, okay, well, what other sayings am I saying that I shouldn't be saying, that they're programmed in me, because I've heard them for years and years and years. Ever since before I was born, they were being said. So I just was born into them, and I just like, oh, okay, I'll adopt this because this is where I live, and this is just like how we all act, and this is what we all say, and this is what we all do. And in order to be accepted, or you just do it on automatic. It's not even about acceptance. It's about what you know. Right? So if you start doing an inventory of the things that you say, you might be very surprised. Today, we're not going to do that though. Today, we're just going to use this amazing tool so that we can establish whether these thoughts, these states are ours or not. And it's very simple. It's called, who does this belong to? So if you're all of a sudden very happy and all of a sudden you start getting really angry or frustrated or whatever, or you start having a panic, which I understand it's harder to go into thought that way. We can do other tools for that. But if you're able to actually come to some sort of rational understanding and are able to ask a question, the question is, who does this belong to? The instant, and you can try it out, practice it, and you'll know it immediately. It's don't believe me. I always tell people, don't believe a word I say. Try it out. If it helps you, if it serves you, keep it. If it doesn't, toss it. So, who does this belong to? When you ask that question, it doesn't have to be out loud. It can be in your mind. When the state is not yours, it immediately leaves your body. You create an awareness that you're picking up somebody else's energy, and there's no need to. So this energy immediately dissolves. This is about quantum physics, but there's no point in explaining it. It's like almost like having a light switch. You don't really want to know how the electricity works. You just want to know where the switch is, how to turn it on and off, and that's enough, right? That's how I feel. If you want more in-depth explanation, you can always email me at info@vocaltapestry.com with your questions, and I will be happy to answer them individually. Anyway, the light switch here would be, who does this belong to? If the state is yours, nothing will happen. You will know it's your state, and then you can deal with it accordingly. But if it isn't yours, which happens in many more times than you can imagine when you start practicing this tool, this state will immediately dissolve, and then you're able to do something else and get back into the state that you were either in before or another state of your choosing. Basically, it gives you the freedom to choose what state you want to be in. Because when you realize that this state isn't yours, you can choose to stay in that state, or immediately, because it left, you can choose something different. That alone starts changing your life. Okay. The second tool, so that was, who does this belong to? The second tool is what I call my bubble of protection. Now, this tool is perhaps going to be sounding very woo-woo out there. But believe me, I use it all the time, And not only does it work, I've had experiences of other people and psychics actually seeing the light emanating from the people that I've taught this tool to in the past. And it has been a really amazing thing. And really, whether it's woo woo, whether it's not woo woo, if it works, who cares, right? Nobody needs to know. So, the bubble of protection. Since energy flows where intention goes. So if you intend to put a bubble of protection around you, the energy of that is going to go to that bubble of protection. So this bubble of protection is all about tapping into your imagination. So all you do is every morning and evening, and if you forget, I do it every morning, then I forget at night, but pretty much do it every day in the morning with my morning rituals that I do. It is to literally imagine a indigo blue purple bubble. I love clear glass bubbles and I love soap bubbles. So in my mind, I have created a alliation or whatever you call of soap and glass that can float. And so I see this beautiful bubble with indigo purple with iridescence in it. And I imagine myself walking into this bubble. Now, this bubble, what it does is it reflects or deflects whatever negative energy or what we consider energy or whatever is not vibrating at our own frequency to just bounce off. So somebody comes with a really bad juju or bad energy and starts telling you stuff. So instead of it literally penetrating all of your energy bodies and creating a dent, you know how when people say stuff, you feel it in your stomach or you feel it in your heart, you really feel it deeply. Well, this will prevent that from happening. So whatever words get thrown your way, especially the ones that are not, copacetic with you, will literally bounce off and will not get into your energy and will allow you to stay protected and cozy during your day. Now, it will allow beautiful energies to come through. And it will allow, because it's permeable, for you to express your own feelings and your own states and share them with others. So if you're joyful, it's still going to come out and you're still going to embrace other people's energy with yours. So that's the bubble of protection. The third and last tool is tapping into the energy of joy. And although EFT tapping, even though whatever and doing the meridians, it's an incredibly amazing, effective tool. Today's tapping into the energy of joy has nothing to do with the EFT tapping. This, like I said before, is if you imagine the people, I don't know what they call them. Could they be maple syrup farmers? Maple syrup gatherers? I don't know. But the people who go into the maple trees and cut little dents in the tree trunk and the sap will pour out. They put buckets, right? And they collect the elixir of the tree. That it's basically we're taking the life energy, the blood, right, of the tree. It's almost like I see them like a blood transfusion or a blood donation from the trees to us, where they are sharing their delicious sweetness. So if you equate joy to that sweetness of that maple syrup, that sugary sweet feeling that gives us that warmth or that feeling of and peace and joy. That's why we like, sometimes some of us like sweets so much, right? Because it gives us that sensation of peace and calm. Some of us don't have that sweetness in our life. We're not surrounded by that. How many of us do not have someone to just give us a hug? A hug elevates your serotonin and makes you feel good and gives you a shot of feel good for at least 3 hours. Just a single hug. So if you don't have someone to hug you, give yourself a hug. That still works. I do that all the time. All right. So, and I'm sure whenever I'm with my loved ones, when I am in Mexico with my parents, I am always sure to keep getting my big dose of hugs so that I can bring with me and keep it to carry me through the times when I'm on my own. All right. So when I was taught by my mentors when they talked about energy to me that the higher frequency would entrain the lower frequency. So if we're talking about feelings like anger, frustration, jealousy, envy, panic, stress, depression, you can feel how heavy those, just even saying the words, you can feel the energy is not the lightest, the most joyful ever, right? But if you talk about joy, peace, love, bliss, laughter, gratitude, you can feel a different sensation when you even just say the words. Now, when I was told that the higher energy would bring the lower energy to meet it by the process of entrainment, I believed it and I thought that that would be very easy. My whole point would be, my whole mission would be to always keep myself vibrating at a high frequency and then everybody would come up to meet me. Well, didn't really work out for me that well. But it made me realize that that was not actually true what was happening. And it gave me the clarity so that I can find my own path. And this is what I found. I found that the stronger energy field, so the energy that is strongest, is going to entrain the energy that is weakest and bring it either up or down, whatever is the case. To illustrate this, if you go into the scene of an accident and you're all happy and all of a sudden you walk into the scene of an accident that just happened, well, the energies are not going to be exactly of joy and bliss and la, 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 right? They are going to be very perhaps heavy energies. If somebody's hurt, if some, whatever, right? Panic, whatever these heavy energies are. And if it's surrounded by people with these energies, you coming in la-di-da are not all of a sudden going to switch the vibrational frequency of all these people who are dealing with something that is tragic. Correct? So most likely you are going to be pulled down into that vibrational frequency. So needless to say, if we're running into different scenarios throughout our day and we are not strong enough in our energetic field, we're going to be dragged in every direction without any say or control. And that is definitely not healthy for us because we do enough bringing ourselves down. We do enough of our own state changes with our brains, with our thoughts, with whatever we believe, with whatever we're thinking on our own, to on top of it, be taking on other people's states and bringing them into our reality. Now, the thing is that if we have our own state and we're vibrating at this, I don't want to call it negative, but at this low vibrating state, this is what we may be attracting. If we're in deathly fear of getting into an accident, chances are we're going to attract an accident into our lives, right? Because we're afraid of it. And the more afraid we are, the more we're vibrating at the frequency of fear, and the more we are attracting this situation. On the contrary, on the flip side of the coin, if we're focusing on amazing experiences and we are not fearful, we're just embracing life the way it comes at us and still choosing joy in spite of whatever is happening around us, then chances are the situations and the challenges are going to get dissolved a lot quicker, and we're going to be able to move on to something else, to something better in a much quicker way. Because if we take into account Hermetic law, as above, so below, as inside, so outside. However you are vibrating on the inside, that's what you're going to be reflecting or attracting or creating on the outside. So if you're experiencing a situation or a reality in this moment that you do not like and you don't agree with, the quickest way to change your reality is to change the way you're feeling inside. Go in and assess, what am I vibrating to? What are my predominant thoughts throughout the day? Are these thoughts mine, or they are based on beliefs that don't even belong to me? So how can I change that? And this can happen very slowly or very quickly, depending on your level of awareness and your level of commitment, choice, and decision to have a different outcome in your life. So the more you choose to be in joy and to connect to the joy of the ether, I'm going to show you how in a moment, the quicker you'll be able to get yourself out of a low frequency state. Now, when things happen in your life, I am not saying, oh, well, pretend that those things aren't happening, or ignore your feelings, or pretend that you're not devastatingly sad or grief-stricken, or just feeling in the lowest of lows, or you're depressed, or you're in a panic, or you have anxiety. I am not saying deny these feelings at all. I am saying embrace them, receive them. Do not try to fight them, because when we try to fight them or get rid of them, the stronger they get. They become a feuding partner, right? The more you want to get rid of being angry, the angrier you get, and it becomes a fight. But it's like, I equate it to martial arts, right? Instead of punching someone, the first thing you learn is to get out of the way. So when that anger has nobody to dance with, nobody to fight, nobody to prove itself to, you just literally allow it to wash through your system and let it wash away. And then it becomes like the wave in the ocean, where it starts coming farther and farther apart. And with the tools that I aim to share with you, you'll be able to literally start surfing on those waves instead of having those waves take you over and put you under, right? And have you swallowing all that sand and water, right? Imagine yourself surfing through those times in your life that, none of us would like to experience, yet all of us do. right? If you experience the loss of a loved one, if you experienced a failed marriage or problems with your children or whatever it is that you're experiencing, it doesn't mean that this is going to go away. So my aim is to give you tools to keep yourself whole, to keep yourself stable in the eye of the hurricane, right? The hurricanes will come, but every hurricane has an eye. So my aim is to teach you how to remain in the eye of the hurricane so that you can be at peace and create change. And then the hurricane part, that ring that's going around making disasters, will get smaller and smaller and smaller as your eye gets larger and larger and larger. And finally, it will dissolve, giving you a life of choice, a life of ease, a life of joy, and a life of actually your choosing. With practice, this starts to become almost automatic. So we're going to do this in our sound bath. I'm going to tell you how it goes. And during our sound bath, you'll be able to experience this elixir of joy. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your feet flat on the ground and your palms facing up in the receiving position on your thighs. You're going to do a quick scan of your body and feel where you're holding all the tension, and like a hose with a kink, you're going to just imagine that the kink is just getting stretched out. So you're going to just let go of any and all tension that you're keeping in your body. Let's say hello to Harry. All right. And then, if you haven't closed your eyes already, go ahead and do that. And you're going to take 3 to 6 cleansing breaths. And they consist of inhaling through your nose in 2 or 4 counts, holding for 2, 1 or 2 counts, whatever feels natural and organic to you. Exhaling through your mouth, a big ha. Feeling how good that feels in your body for the same amount of counts, and then hold again for 1 or 2 counts and start the process all over again. You can do that 3 to 6 times. It'll be your choice, and I will tell you when we're going to get started. If you want to start breathing right now, you can do so. And then you're going to really just start to connect with where your physical body ends and the ether begins. So this is a very quick way to start connecting to your own energetic bodies. Just start feeling with your little hairs. I'm not a hairy person. But wherever your tiny little hairs end and the ether begins. But do this from the inside out. You'll notice immediately that there's space getting created within. Then go ahead and imagine that in the ether, there are particles of joy spread all over. Just as there are particles of peace and anger. But today you're going to just concentrate and focus on the particles of joy. And you will imagine these particles floating out there. And imagine your body becoming magnetized to joy just by intending to focus on these particles. So start imagining how these particles start coming at you and penetrating through your skin into the center of your body and filling you up with joy. When you feel that you have created created this to become automatic without you having to pay any attention, just like when you're riding a bicycle or driving a car, right? You might have to be focusing and concentrating on this at the beginning more. But the more you do it, you'll be able to eventually set it onto auto drive. For now, just focus on these little teeny particles of joy and feel how it feels to have every little particle come into your body. Does it give you a tingling sensation? Does it make you want to smile? Go ahead and smile. I imagine them as little bubbles, like in seltzer water, mineral water, that has this little teeny bubbles coming in. Bubbles of joy coming into your body effortlessly. The simple intention of having it be so. Taking the focus off of our reality, off the pain, off of the panic, the grief, the anxiety, the depression, the rage, and focus on these little tiny bubbles of joy. Bubbles of joy coming in, flooding your body, taking all the space available inside your body, pushing the other bubbles out. Know that this sweetness is available to you at all times. You don't need anyone to be the provider of sweetness in your life. It's there for the taking. take a moment to connect to these bubbles. Keep smiling. And when you're ready to come back, go ahead and wiggle your toes. Do a little stretch. Open your eyes when you're ready. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it all out. How are you feeling? Thank you for being here. I invite you to follow me on Instagram at Vocal Tapestry. Thank you for being here. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and press the little bell. Get the subscription so that it will tell you when I'm on live. Thank you for being here in yet another edition of Sound Bath Sundays. I love you, and I will see you next week. God bless you. Bye-bye.